Hello everybody, welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
Okay, so we are going to talk about school zoning.
Oh, I like that.
About how to find out about school zoning, where to go specifically, and then talk in some general principles about that. Now we're talking about Las Vegas specifically and the greater Las Vegas area. So we'll start with this. Now we're going to actually show you some really cool screens. I'm not going to put them up yet. I'm going to make you watch some of the video to get there. But there'll be the actual screens that you find on the website, and we'll talk about how to use them and everything. So in Las Vegas, we actually have the county is a school. It's called the Clark County School District.
Right.
And it's in charge of everything inside of Clark County for schools. And they handle zoning. And both of us have had kids who have, and I of course grew up here. So I got to go to schools here. And it's all, where you go is based on where you live, right?
Right. So Clark County is very interesting. They're very good about their website. Their website allows you to put in your address and find out what schools your kids are zoned for. That includes elementary, middle school, high school, and they do it by the school year. So what happens is, for example, this time of year, you can already put in, of course, for the 2021 to 2022 school year. But let's say that maybe you were looking at this in April. Well, if you do it in April, you can do it for the current school year, which would have been the 2020 to 2021 school year, or looking forward to the 21-22 school year. Now, the reason you want to check both is because Clark County rezones schools every single year in the spring. Now, I said that slowly so it would sink in. That means that your child can go to one school this year, a different school next year, a different school the year after that, and so on, because we rezone every single year. Now, that doesn't happen very much anymore. It used to back when homes were being built a million miles an hour, and they were having to do that. Clark County is very good about figuring out who's got how many kids, what ages, and zoning appropriately in order to balance their schools. The idea is to reduce classroom size and not have overcrowding, and have your kids hopefully get a better education by having a better student-teacher ratio.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start with, we're going to show you where on the site. We're going to tell you the website to go to and get the process started. And we're going to do this because here's the deal. You're going to show, this is what's going to happen when you move to Las Vegas. And trust it, we know this because we deal with this all the time, right? So you're going to show up and you're going to find a real estate agent and say, I have kids getting ready to go to school. Where should I live? Where are the best schools, right? Everyone does that. Where are the best schools where I want to live? Well, the quote unquote best schools that's subjective. It depends on what your goal is for education. And I would say that we definitely, like most places, we have a range of, you could say schools are better or worse. And you have that everywhere, right? Based on, for whatever reasons, some schools have higher test scores or better curriculum. Maybe there's more chances for your kids to take AP classes at one school, but then another school doesn't offer them, okay? The other thing that we have here too, are we have these charter schools.
Right, and we have magnet schools.
Yep.
Which are kind of cool because, so for example, let's say that your kid goes to ABC school, and ABC school is a regular school. However, a certain number of classrooms are actually designated as almost a separate school, and that's a magnet school or a charter school, and they actually have a different curricula than the rest of the school does, and those kids can come from all over the city, and those slots for that particular program, for that particular charter school or magnet school, they are allotted by lottery. So you could live in one part of the city and your child could go to school in a completely different part of the city because they want to participate in that particular program. And
we're going to do a whole other video on the charter schools, the magnet schools, and what they offer. Okay. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to give you the web address. It'll be in the comments, and we're going to put this up on the screen. So it's ccsd.net, Clark County School District.net, and there is on the site, it says search for your school zone. And then you can select the year. So right now you can only select the next year, 2021 to 2022. Okay.
Right, because like I said, they rezone in April every year.
So in next April, you'll have 2 you can search. That year, which is over basically, and then you'll be able to check the next year. So what you do is on this, you put in your street number, in the just the numbers, and then for street name, don't put the whole thing in. This is smart. Put just like the base name. So if you live on West Oak Drive, just put Oak. Okay, don't put the other. It even tells you on here not to do that. And then there's a search button, and when you do that, it's going to pull up every grade K through 12. So it'll give you K, 1, 2, all the way to 12. And it'll tell you what school you're zoned for. Now that's important because there are some schools that go K through 5 or K through 6 or 7th through 9th is in the school. And they're not exactly all the same.
Right. The other thing that's weird here that I have not seen in other places, we have this thing where kids can go, like for example, K through 2 in one school and then 3 through 5 in another school, even though they're both elementary schools.
Yeah.
So be very careful when you're looking at it, because when you're just looking at the K going, oh, that means that elementary school is this for all my kids. It may not be, particularly if you have a child that's K through 2 and then a child that's 3 through 5. They could be in separate schools, so pay attention.
Okay, now, so part of this is disclosure. It is not the real estate agent's job. It is not anybody else's job to figure out school zoning other than yours. The house I lived in as a kid that I grew up, we're going to show you this on the next map. The house I lived in as a kid, I was zoned for one high school. Okay, now, and then at some point they built another high school called Bonanza, but we weren't zoned for that. Even though it was physically closer to my house, we didn't go to that school. They built a high school closer to my house by about a mile maybe. We didn't go there. We still went to Clark. And then they built this other school called Durango. And they said, hey, you know what? You guys should all go to Durango because this is only like a mile. It was a mile. Durango High School is a mile from my house. And then they built this other school called Spring Valley. But they said, no, you don't go there. You keep going to Durango because it's closer. Because that other Spring Valley is 2 miles away. And then they just decided like a couple years ago, hey, you know what? We're going to rechange the zoning. And now you're going to. So if you lived in that house and you had kids, at one point they would have gone to Clark. At another time they would have gone to Durango. And then another time they would have gone to Spring Valley High School. So and if you are trying to shoot for I really have this emotional attachment to the school because my friends' kids go there and they said all these great things. They have a good sports program in a specific sport, and the coach even said, just go find a house in our district. Just make sure you're not right on the border, because if you're across the street from like a high school, you're probably always zoned there. But if you're like on the edge and you go, oh, but I've seen him move like the border by a mile. So you think you're there, and the next thing you know is it's changed. And a lot of times they don't grandfather you in. They're like, sorry, you're changing schools, okay?
Well, what's interesting is when my kids were little, my kids went to Vandenberg Elementary School. Now, Vandenberg at the time was a uniform school. I don't know if it still is, but it was a uniform school, and we had high test scores and great teachers and all this, and it was wonderful. It was a public school. And then they built another school. Now, they built this other elementary school so close, as a matter of fact, that it was in our parking lot. So we had 2 elementary schools side by side, and they shared one parking lot. They were both K through 5. And what happened was, if you, first of all, they took half our kids and put them in the other elementary school, and then new kids who showed up, it depended on where they needed kids more, in whether it was my kid's school or the school across the parking lot. So you had the situation where you would show up and park in one parking lot and not know which elementary school your kid was going to go to, because of this whole idea of trying to balance the schools and trying to keep the class sizes small and that sort of thing. So it was this crazy thing for a long time for us, as far as having kids go back and forth and in that situation. But the only way for the first couple years after the new elementary school was built, that you got to have your child go to our elementary school was if you already had a sibling with us. If you had a sibling with us, then your child could come. Otherwise, all new kids went to the new school, and we just kept our kids and our siblings. It was really interesting. The school across the parking lot was also a uniform school, but they had different color uniforms. So if you got pulled from our school and got assigned to the new elementary school, you had to get all new clothes for the kids. So it was this whole big to-do. But so it is very interesting the way Clark County does it. So the moral of the story is, please pay attention to the website and what it tells you about that. For a long time, we used to have both 9-month school and year-round schools. For the most part, all we have now is 9-month schools, which is pretty nice because then all the kids are on the same schedule.
Yeah, when you search for the school, it will tell you specifically. Now, why this is important is, imagine this. You live in an area where your K through 5 are not all 9-month schools or year-round. They're year-round. Mm-hmm. But then your say that middle school is a regular school. It gets the whole summer off. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you have potentially a problem, because that summer vacation you were going to take is gone because you have this elementary school kid that has like 6 weeks of school and 3 weeks off, and then you have that schedule all the time, and then so in the middle of your summer you have kids still going to school. Mm-hmm. So you need to check both of those things. And I know it can be frustrating that, hey, I have 2 kids, they're only a year apart, but they're not now, and they of course go to different schools when they hit different years. But then if they're not even on the same schedule, so you'll wake up one morning and have one of your kids that's going to school and the other one's still sleeping. Mm-hmm. And so you're every day having to, all year round, you're having to, you don't get a break from that, and it messes up your summers. So please be aware of that. Now, there's another cool thing on here. If you look, I'm going to put this back up. You see where it says View Interactive Google Map? It's a fun thing. You should play with this. And you click on that, and it takes you to this screen where, let me pull it up here. I don't know why it's not showing it. Okay. And it takes you to a screen, and it shows you can separate all the boundaries. So on this one, what I pulled up the boundaries for the high school boundaries. That's a blue line. You'll see a blue line, and then all the blue dots that you see here are the blue or the high schools. Okay, so I've outlined one specifically, which is Clark High School. Okay, that's Clark High School, and then you can see that there's other little blue schools around it that are further out, that are in the center of those areas. And then I put a little mark on the map for where I lived as a kid, and you can see that that place has been within zoning of 3 high schools. So right now it's zoned for Spring Valley High School, but it'd been zoned for 2 other high schools, and so it changes. And you can see that this potentially there's some gerrymandering here. So if you look, and there's another section just to the left of the one I've outlined that's really goofy, because it's got like a rectangular area, and then it's got these little arms that come off and grab little neighborhoods, right? And you're like, why is it doing that? Why is it grabbing these weird areas? Because that's just how they did it. And then some of those, like the far west end of that, was actually zoned for Palo Verde High School. And then you can see how they went over there and grabbed that and said, no, we're going to take that area. They grabbed that one little area that was zoned for Palo Verde, and now it's zoned for Spring Valley. And a lot of people that bought, there's a neighborhood over there that's super nice, Toll Brother, really nice, expensive homes, and the people wanted their kids to go to Palo Verde High School, which is in Summerlin, and now they're going to this other high school. So you can see, but this map is pretty cool. It shows you the high schools, middle schools was what they call them now in Las Vegas, and then the elementary schools. And you can go through there and have fun and check out all the schools. Absolutely. It's pretty cool. The website has lots of interesting information, and it's really worth your while, particularly if you're a parent and you're concerned about your kids. Go check out the website. Even if you're living in Las Vegas and you've lived here for a long time, if you've got kids,
and your kids are school age and your kids are going to public school, this website is your friend. Check it out and be familiar with it, know where to find the information that you're looking for. The thing that we haven't talked about is private schools. There are lots of private schools in Las Vegas, and they're all over, yes, they're all over the city.
Yeah.
And they do cater to every grade level. They're wonderful. Some have just spectacular programs, from performing arts to amazing sports programs and so on, depending on what your child's interest is or what you would like your child to be interested in. Lots of different programs. And of course, like Todd mentioned earlier, we have lots of magnet schools. So maybe we'll do a whole separate video that talks about the magnet schools, charter schools, and private schools that are in Las Vegas, because I think those are really interesting. Las Vegas is not an educational desert, okay? There are really good educational opportunities, much as there are in lots of places, but you have to seek them out. The idea that you're just going to get a great education wherever your child happens to land, I don't know that really happens anywhere. I think it takes a lot of dedication on both the parent's part and the child's part to get a good education. It's not something that just happens. We can't put a funnel into their head and pour in lots of great education. It is an effort that is on the part of the student, the parent, and the teacher.
Yeah, the school district is a piece of that, but if you're relying on the school district to educate your child, then you're just going to get what you get, because every student is not treated the same, and some kids just try harder. So maybe a moot point which school your child goes to, if they're not putting forth any effort, taking advantage of opportunities that are at the school, because it comes to a point where the faculty and the teachers can't just force the kids. They just if the kid's getting by, and they're just not going to a lot of times not going to push them. And it's unfortunate, but remember, we live in a city that has the least number of college graduates per capita. And this was
right.
I think it was the top 100 cities. And you probably go, wait, that can't be right. Las Vegas, how is it? Well, look at what jobs we have here, right? Most of our jobs a quarter of the jobs here, or 35%, are just casino jobs. They're working on the gaming. They are working in the beverage and food industry. So you have cocktail waitresses, bartenders. You have people working in all of those restaurants, and don't get me wrong, they're great restaurants. And I know people that have worked in restaurants in town for 20 plus years. My mother worked 14 years in the coffee shop at the Frontier Hotel, and the woman never had a day of college in her life. She just was a worker. So we have a lot of that in Vegas. And then you'll say, well, what about all these other towns? Well, all these other towns have colleges too, but they don't have this massive entertainment sector. Right. I mean, the people in most of the Cirque du Soleils are not college graduates. They circus performers.
Right. So look, Las Vegas has a lot of hospitality workers, entertainment workers. We have a lot of some manufacturing. We have warehousing. We have a lot of people who are very hardworking people who do a great job for their families, who do a great job for their employers. But the skills that they have and the services that they provide do not require college education. So because of that, we do not have as many college graduates in our population as other areas. That's not to say that our people are any less valuable, because I don't think they are. I think that they're phenomenal people who make this city thrive and who provide tremendous value to all of us. They're just not college graduates the way they are in other cities. And because of that, that may also play a role in what happens with education as far as their kids are concerned, as far as maybe their ability to help their kids with school, their abilities to help their kids navigate education in general. So it does make a difference.
All right. So that is the rundown on ccsd.net. It's your go-to. Forget what, the MLS is populated by real estate agents who are supposed to go in and search the address. But if your house is listed in March and then in May, it could change. So remember, everything in that on the MLS is not, don't just go on Zillow, because it's in Zillow. You can go in Zillow and find it. But if it's March, it's going to change. And don't get mad at Zillow or your real estate agent. Say, hey, this says right here I was zoned for this school that I wanted to go to, and now I'm finding out 2 months later I'm going to a different school, right? You've been warned. So ccsd.net. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Statistically, we have found out that about a third of you watch the whole video. You just watch the whole thing.
Thank you.
That we appreciate that very much. Please subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and we love your comments, so leave them.
Absolutely. Hit that notification bell, leave us love notes, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.